What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Catch My Drift. Today, we're counting down the top 20 games on Nintendo Switch. Xenoblade Chronicles 1. Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Xenoblade Chronicles... Check! Hello everyone, I am Jake Steinberg, and every episode of Catch My Drift, I am trying to get you to see my perspective. And today, I've taken on an additional challenge. I have recruited Adam, and together we will be trying to determine the best 20 games on Nintendo Switch. Now, there's a lot of ways you can go about formulating a list like this, so I'll let you see exactly how I explained it to him. I like to think that, Adam, you and I are the kings of two neighboring nations. We have our kingdoms. They're right next to each other. And my daughter is about to marry your son. And we're gonna become one. We're gonna become one kingdom. But in our kingdom, we have to have our best. We have to have one set of 20 Nintendo Switch games to best represent our kingdom. And that is what we are trying to come up with today. Now, in the formulation of our 20 games today, we will be putting some in the catch category. That's like if I were to suggest a game, if I nominate something and Adam immediately says, oh, yep, got it, that's a lock, that's on the list, that goes in catch. And a drift is a kind of like, okay, it's on the list, but there could be some movement here. There could be some movement here. And today, we are not ordering the lists. We will do that in a future episode. And the reason for that is, at the end of the episode today, we will have a list of 20 games, but I will be putting a survey in the description below this video in which you, the audience, can order those 20 games any way that you like, and we will use that information as a data point when we structure the final list in a future live stream. There will be some other questions on that survey too, so be sure to check it out. But without any further ado, let's get to Adam's first nomination.
Well, I'm going to go with my one that's furthest down the list.
Okay.
Because I think this is probably going to be a drift, but I'm going for Darksiders War Mastered Edition.
Perhaps we can strike a deal. You won't like my terms.
And I'm going for it for a couple of reasons, okay?
Yeah.
So, when I was designing this list, I went through, obviously, the first-party Nintendo stuff, but then also for the stuff that wasn't made by Nintendo, I kind of delved into the mind of a Nintendo gamer. It's like, what kind of games do Nintendo gamers like? What kind of games do these play? And Darksiders is, like a 3D Metroidvania kind of Zelda-like game. So, and it's a bit darker, so it gives you, something a bit different. I believe Mark Hamill is also in it. But the main reason why I'm putting this on here is because it's one of the only games I've ever seen on the Switch that has two performance modes. You can play it at, I believe, 1080p at 30 FPS or some reduced resolution at 60 FPS. And that just amazed me. It just amazed me.
Okay, so I like that this is good. I think our first picks here are going to speak to how we went about constructing our personal notes and our personal lists. And you're seeing something here on the Switch that demonstrates a certain kind of excellence for the platform that maybe a lot of other games, how many Nintendo Switch games are out there that you're like, oh, but the performance. Oh, but the performance. And then you have one here that kind of is specifically speaking to that need, that concern. And for that reason, you want to put it on the list. But Adam, I like that. I like that logic, but I need to ask, what about this game, the game? That stuff is, what about the game speaks to you?
See, the thing about the game that speaks to me, and this is going to be a very specific, this is where you'll see my list coming from, is like, it's a AA Zelda game. Oh. And I love AA games. There's an undeniable charm to AA games, and sometimes that charm, I think some people don't like that charm, and other people love that charm. And it's almost this intangible feeling of this is made by a team that didn't exactly have the budget to achieve what they wanted to do, but they still did their best, and they still made, a pretty good game. So it's not like, they don't have hundreds of millions to throw at it. They have 50 million to throw at it. and they did the best of what they could. And well, if anything, Darksiders is a good game as well. So it's not like it's a bad game or anything. I really enjoy it.
Give me the title of this one again.
Darksiders War Mastered Edition, I believe, is the name of the Switch version.
War Mastered. Excellent. Okay. War Mastered.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was that era where they were like, what was it? Red Faction. What was the Red Faction remake? Remastered.
I remember.
Remastered. Yeah.
That's funny. All right. Well, it's a little cut off for the friends and fans, but they understand. Yeah, that's gonna go in Drift for now because I like the idea, but I'm not willing to say it's a lock. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's
fair.
Right.
I understand.
Adam, I think I just to explain where I'm coming from. When I was putting together this list, the word I kept coming back to in my head was impact. Okay. It was like, it didn't necessarily have to be a game exclusive to the Switch. It had to speak to the time and the place, and it had to speak most importantly to me. When I think about the Nintendo Switch, what impacted me the most? Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Colors weave into a spire of flame. Distant sparks call to a past still unnamed. Bear this torch against the cold of the night. Search your soul and reawaken the undying light.
This is on the list, right? This is a lock. This is definitely going to be in the top 20, right, Adam?
It wouldn't be in my top 20.
It wouldn't be in your top 20.
No, I don't. Smash Bros. Just never spoke to me. I understand that people love Smash Bros. And I know, I'm going to lose a lot of fans here, but Smash Bros. To me has felt the same.
Yeah.
Since I played it on the N64.
Okay.
And yeah.
All right, let me address this really quick. Let me just say, I just think for me, Super Smash Brothers, and I get where you're coming from. It can feel, especially if you're not super into it in the way that I am, it can feel iterative. And I think a lot of people would tell you like, oh, Smash Brothers on the Wii U and Smash Ultimate. I know as somebody that like plays the meta that there's so many little things that are like the gameplay's completely changed. But most people would tell you they're pretty much the exact same game, just with more characters. So I understand this perspective, but I do think where Smash Ultimate sings in, you have these so many video game franchises on Nintendo Switch that have been long running franchises. And I think out of all of them, Smash Brothers Ultimate has that name, Ultimate. And to me, it lives up to the name. It is hard to imagine what the next Smash Brothers game is. There will be some franchises on Nintendo Switch that we talk about today that I say, no, because the second a new one comes out, it will eclipse this game. And I'm not sure if that will happen with Smash Ultimate. I am not sure that I don't think the next Smash Ultimate is the next Smash Brothers game is guaranteed to take the spot of Ultimate because of the degree to which it lives up to that Ultimate name. And I think like on the Super Smash Brothers crown, all the crown of Super Smash Brothers, Ultimate is the crown jewel. It is the one. If you were going to give anybody a Super Smash Brothers game, it would be Ultimate. And I just think that that's powerful.
Yeah. See, I think on this list, we need a multiplayer game.
Sure.
At least one. And
we'll
there's only a handful of handful of multiplayer games on the Switch.
Yeah.
So put it in catch, Jake.
Put it in catch.
Yeah, okay, put it in catch. I can understand. I just personally don't like it. Would never be on my top 20. It probably wouldn't even be in my top 50, to be honest.
Adam, but I like this.
I can understand the argument. I'm a level-headed guy.
Yeah, no, that's what we're looking for. We listen. Your son is marrying my daughter. Yes. We have to, there has to be some trades. There has to be some understandings. And I see right now you're giving me a tip of the cap. In the future, I'm sure I'll give you a tip of the cap. Now,
I'll be getting your kingdom.
That's
or my
true.
son with my family lineage will eventually be getting your kingdom. So ultimately, I win.
I am in the more vulnerable position. That is correct.
Plus, if I start like a red wedding kind of situation and kill your daughter, then I just get your kingdom.
Oh my God! All right. What's your next nomination?
My next nomination is one I think that sings to every single Nintendo player's heart, and that is Ring Fit Adventure. Because when I think of Nintendo, it's because, you know, in the future with the Switch 2, there's a chance that the Switch 2 will just be an iterative console. And while that's what I want, there's still something missing. That Nintendo magic, that special sort of you have to be there moment. And I think Ring Fit was that moment on the Switch, because Switch Sports came out, it didn't really hit. ARMS came out, didn't really hit. There was a couple of them kind of gimmicky games that came out. But then Ring Fit came around and it absolutely destroyed me, because not only is it a fun game, it really is a fun game. It's a serious workout, like a serious workout. And I just think when I'm constructing a Nintendo Switch list, I'm sitting there thinking, there is no place in this world where you will get an experience like that other than a Nintendo console. So I think that's why I'm putting it out there for a catch.
Adam, easy. I accept that wholeheartedly.
Okay.
Love Ring Fit Adventure. Absolutely no fight here. And just to speak a little bit more to it, the character design. Love it. Love it in that game.
Yeah.
The big devil guy with the muscles, hilarious. The ring with like the little voice lines. Your sweat is so shiny and beautiful. Like, dude, I love that game. It's like a good video game, and like you said, it's a good workout. I think it's a better workout than like something like Wii Fit ever was.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
And I got to give it to them on the engineering of the ring con. That to me seems like a feat. Like they figured something out, because that device doesn't really like exist in the world of exercise as far as I know. But they made this thing that is multi-purpose and like really works and doesn't break over time. Bravo. Yeah, really good game. Ring Fit Adventure. Heck yeah. Easy catch for the list. Easy. All right. Adam, I would like to submit Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. And let me tell you why. A beautiful game that I think sucks on Wii U. And I think that the added speed, the speed change in that game and some of the other little tweaks that they make to Super Mario 3D World specifically make it the definitive game easily and catapult it into like the conversation of best Mario games, period. That's how highly I think of that game. I also think it just being a handheld game by virtue of it being on the Switch also makes it a little bit more of a juicy promise. But it's like a game perfectly made for the handheld with its level structure. And then I think the stuff that they did mechanically to it makes that game sing in a way that it did not in its previous form, pretty dramatically. Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah,
I love that game as well. I personally prefer 3D Land, but that's
okay.
That's for another story. That's another story for another day. But are we doing one game or one franchise entry, or can we do multiple? Because I think that would change how I argue this.
It's up to us. It's up to us, Adam. So are you telling me that this is maybe a drift?
Well, it's a drift if I can't include another Mario game.
I see no reason why you cannot. You definitely. I think you can.
Well, then I believe this is a catch, because I never actually played the original on the Wii U, so I don't know comparison-wise, but the level design in this game is fantastic, especially the Rainbow World?
Yes, dude.
Them levels are fantastic. And then you get into Bowser's Fury.
Yeah.
And I am shocked that they haven't made a full game in the Bowser's Fury sort of formula. And can I just point out that the Bowser's Fury music, you know that little whistle tune?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. I'm constantly whistling it. It's unbelievable. And I don't know, Nintendo, I think part of this list is that there is a Nintendo magic. There is, and I'm not saying that that's only given by Nintendo. There are other games on my list that kind of evoke that. Yeah. But when the Nintendo magic hits, it hits good. And that's why we've all been fans of Nintendo since I came out with the boom. So
I gotta give him credit too, I think, in specifically Bowser's Fury. The Fury Bowser, that big giant Bowser, For a character that's gone big a lot, I actually think that there's something nice and iconic about that version of Bowser. That like when it shows up and it's giant, you're like, oh man, like I don't know, Mario games never really pulled something like that, and I think it was really nice. I'm actually not the biggest fan of Bowser's Fury. I just love 3D World that much, but I appreciate kind of like as a preview of a future thing, what's going on there for sure. But yeah, I just love 3D World, Adam. I think that's a masterpiece. Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
all right.
It is.
What's your next nomination?
My next nomination, what one am I going to pick for the next one? Is Cuphead.
Cuphead. Whoa, I did not see this coming. All right, give me the pitch.
Well, the pitch is that this game is a work of art. It is arguably the best looking game ever created.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, like the amount of love and care that went into hand drawing every single every single cell of every single animation is just it's unrivaled.
Yeah.
And then when you get into all the different bosses, they're extremely iconic.
Yeah.
And one reason why I'm putting this on it, because I'll go back to what I said, was that I'm trying to channel the inner Nintendo gamer. And I think Cuphead is sort of a perfect way of bringing that old game design forward into a new generation and showing, oh, look, we can make old games like Contra or any of these like shoot 'em ups, but not make them bullcrap. And I think that's what Cuphead achieves.
Can you tell me why Cuphead, a game that is available on every platform, is specifically suited for the Switch?
Well, the main reason is just that I think it channels that Nintendo game.
It's about the audience. It's about the
old school NES or SNES or NES or SNES as I'd call them, audience. And also, I know this is a bit of a cop-out because you can get OLEDs anywhere, but when you're playing Cuphead on a Switch OLED in handheld mode, it's just unbelievable. It looks absolutely gorgeous. So
cool. Okay. Yeah, I like it. Plus, I actually think that there might be something to the handheld nature of it too, because it is kind of like a go in, dip out kind of game. It's not necessarily like a long play session kind of thing. So, yeah, I like it. Plus, you get that local multiplayer in there. It's like, no, there's some good stuff there. Okay. Adam, do you find this personally to be on the catch or drift side of things? I'm torn.
See, I think the indie games is where you get a bit drifty.
It's tough.
Because
drifty.
I think you could there's a massive list of really high quality indie games that I do think speak to that sort of old school design.
Yeah.
And you could probably make an argument for a lot of them to be on the list.
Yeah.
So I think with the indie games, a lot of them that I will be pitching will probably all be drifts, and then we'll really have to dive into the nitty gritty later.
All right. Allow me to pitch an indie game to you.
Okay.
I would like to nominate Celeste. Okay, so Celeste, for me, it's very like time and place on Nintendo Switch. To me, there's something about that game, the art style, that like is trying to inhabit what I associate with like old Game Boy games specifically, but also that kind of like single screen style of progression. For me, Celeste is, putting aside the Switchness of it, just as a video game, it is a game that's about trying over and over again in its structure. You're trying to get past every screen. The screen is not just a platforming challenge, it is a puzzle. And you need to get better at the game and to surpass. It's a game about climbing a mountain that is about climbing little mountains in the game. And it ties that together with like with a thematic sensibility towards what does it take to climb this mountain? What does it mean for this person to climb this mountain? And there's all these like little, really like lovable characters. I feel like the game from start to finish, I was engaged with it, really into it. And from like the very beginning to the end, when you start getting to the peak of that mountain, it's rare in a video game do I ever get to the top of something and I actually feel like I am getting to the top of something. For how much in games we climb, I rarely have that excitement about being on the peak as I did when I got to the top of Celeste of the mountain. So yeah, I just think it's like I'm tempted to say it's like a perfect game in a lot of ways. I think this game's really good. So yeah, what do you have to say about Celeste?
I like it as a game. I think it's good. It's just them sort of 2D platformers never really spoke to me. I've always preferred, something like Shovel Knight or Rayman or something like that. That's slightly less hard. And it's not because, I don't know, I like hard games, but I don't like extremely hard 2D platformers. They've never really clicked with me. But I can see that Celeste would have that impact. Yeah. Like that sort of, like a journey, not like going on a journey, but the game journey or one of them sort of games or a short hike, which is going to be my next game.
A short hike.
Yes.
Okay, cool. This was in my notes. I wasn't sure if I wanted to put it up here or not, but tell, in case the audience doesn't know, a little bit about a short hike.
Well, a short hike is, firstly, we better go on to Celeste. Where are we putting it?
Oh, I just threw it in drift. I threw it in drift. Especially because of what you said about Cuphead. I just was like, okay, I see. Yeah. It's hard to place right now. We need to see the full list.
Okay, so for anybody who doesn't know what a short hike is, it's this, would you say, what sort of graphics would you say it is?
Wow, that is a great question. They will be in the video. They will be seeing it on the screen right now, so they can say it for themselves. But I'm not sure. Yeah,
it's a very unique. Yeah, maybe kind of PS1-ish kind of graphic style. Yeah, and it's an isometric game. You play as this little penguin. Yep, and you are on a short hike. You're basically on this little holiday island. You're just running around, climbing, trying to reach the top. I actually forget how the progression works in the game. I don't really remember much about the actual gameplay. I just remember, as you were saying, the time and place that I was in. Because it was a particularly hard time. And I wasn't doing well. And there was one night where I couldn't sleep. And I went onto the Nintendo Switch and I saw a short hike. And I think it was on sale for like €5 or something. And I was just looking for something that I could plug headphones in and just get lost in. And at that moment in time, it was a game that I sat up, probably only took me 2, 3, 4 hours to beat, but I sat up and I played it in one sitting. And even though I can't really remember much about the story or the characters, I just remember being in my bed, playing that game, and just getting lost in it.
It spoke to you, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most powerful thing games can do. And I think it just gave me just a calming feeling that very few games give you.
Yeah, a short hike is a very complete experience. And I like this thing where quick minor spoilers for a short hike. You kind of go on this adventure, and then the protagonist at the end of the game goes back to, I think, her mom and is like, "Mom, I got to tell you about all the stuff I did on this adventure." And there's something about that, this completeness. It's over. And it's like, remember all the stuff we did in this on this short hike? It understands its own sentimentality and points to it at the end of the game. And I think that that's really powerful. I also want to say, at the beginning when you were describing this game, you referred to the main character as a penguin? No.
Penguin?
It's just a bird. It's just a bird. It's just a
Let me see.
Absolutely not, Adam.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. It's a bird. That could be mistaken for.
Listen, I like it. I like your interpretation. I like it. You know what I mean? It's a penguin that for some reason has been displaced, and it can also fly a little.
Yeah, well, I'm sure a penguin could float for a couple of seconds.
Okay, if it could float for a couple seconds. Yeah, okay.
In my headcanon, he is a penguin.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so I'm gonna put a short hike on the drift side, but I like it. So we have yet to just blatantly say no to something. So I'm gonna toss one out, Adam, that I anticipate might be a problem for you.
Yes.
I would like to nominate ARMS for this list. ARMS will, in 6, 7, 8, 10 years, be this thing that Nintendo fans talk about. And they're like, it's this hidden gem. It's this cult classic. People didn't appreciate it at the time. It had this extremely novel control scheme where they took advantage of the Joy-Con and you held them like this and you had these little fists and you moved and you did all this stuff. It was like, oh my God. And it made by the Mario Kart team and it had all these unique characters. Min in Smash is in there. And I think it is a better fighting game than people give it credit for. It has fighting game mechanics that are uniquely its own, that are really cool. So like your fighting game knowledge from other games doesn't quite transfer over. So there's kind of a harder learning curve to really get into it, but I think it's fun. It has a little bit of custom Robo DNA where I feel like you've got the different arms and you're customizing how your person fights. I think that's really cool. But more importantly than anything, I think it has the best online experience of a Nintendo game that I have ever played. The lobby system is really good. It's better than Smash Ultimate's lobbies. It like when you're all in a lobby together, everybody is always playing. You're never just waiting for somebody to be done. You're all going, it mixes you around. It's like a really good lobby system. And Max Brass is one of my favorite Nintendo characters of recent memory. I love Max Brass, dude.
Yeah, good old Max Brass. Now, Jake, I played like the beta of this game. Remember they did like an online stress test, and then that was enough for me to just say no, I'm okay.
Okay. So you can't speak to it. Yeah,
I can't really speak to it. I think we could put it on the drift and probably move on and maybe never discuss it again.
All right, we'll come back to it.
It doesn't help that it's a fighting game as well. So it's just it's like it was a fighting game. It was a niche fighting game.
It was.
And didn't the server shut down after like 2 years?
I think you can still play it online. Yeah, give me a quick fact check. Give me a quick because that's gonna make me so sad if you can't play ARMS online. Adam, don't do this to me. I wanted to stream it. I wanted to play it with the friends and fans. Okay.
I don't know.
See, I feel like if it didn't immediately come up, we're safe.
Yeah.
Okay. No, it's still here, baby.
Oh yeah, maybe it's just like not active.
Yeah. But no, really good. I really liked it. It was I don't know. It did this thing that fighting games do sometimes, which I think was actually kind of intelligent, where if you take yourself back, Adam, Nintendo was kind of fielding this criticism at the time, thanks to ARMS, but also like Splatoon 2 and some other games where it was like, Nintendo, why are you drip feeding content to us? And that was like a thing. Oh, and Mario Tennis, that was a thing too.
Yep.
And ARMS, I actually thought, did it tactfully, where it started off with, I think, 10 characters, and then it gave you some more as time went on. But the characters it added in were technically more complex than the initial cast. So it was like, please learn the video game first, and then we'll give you these other characters, which is, I appreciated that. I appreciated that. You didn't have to pay for them. They just showed up. Yeah, I don't know. So that's just a little tip of the cap to ARMS. What would you like to nominate?
I think I'll go with an easy nomination that I think will be out on the catch to mix it up, and I think it's The World Ends With You. It won't be a catch, no?
I am shocked!
It won't be a catch?
I am shocked! Okay,
Look,
all right.
okay,
Wow.
so
I cannot believe you were saying this. Yeah.
I never played the DS version, so this is my first time playing it. And I understand that if you play this you play this with the Joy-Cons, you will cramp up your hands like nobody's business. It does not feel good to play. But if you play it in handheld and you're using the touchscreen, it plays pretty good. And the thing is that I think The World Ends With You is such a good game.
Yeah.
That I looked past them issues. I think it just looks brilliant. It has such a striking art style, and the fact that everything is like, oh yeah, we're gonna meld everything with this fashion brand, and you're gonna have these pins, and different fashion brands are gonna do different things. You're gonna get all these different spells, and then it kind of feels because Nomura did the the character design for this game, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it feels like, you know, a Kingdom Hearts game. Like they feel like Organization 13. Is 13?
Mm-hmm. Yes, oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's what this feels like. It could have been a Kingdom Hearts game. And
Adam, I am experiencing intense emotions right now.
Okay.
Intense emotions. First off, I of course have The World Ends ready right here, the DS version. Yep. I've got it. Okay, so The World Ends With You. This is one of my favorite games of all time. Yep. It's probably in my top 5. That's where I'm at with this game. And I did not put it in my notes because in my head, I said to myself, you know what? I just consider the DS version that much. I consider that to be the obvious definitive version, but I understand that version is not accessible to everybody. Yep. And I played through the entirety of the game on Switch, and I actually thought it was better than I expected it to be. And I actually did not mind the Joy-Con thing with the cursor. I actually thought that was okay because you're really just doing like little, you know, nonsense movements.
It just never felt accurate though.
Yeah.
And then you could use the analog stick, couldn't you, as well? And then I
think so.
Yeah, I think that's what caused the cramps because the Switch analog stick is so tight. Yeah. But no, I can understand that. I've never played the DS version, so I don't have that to compare to. But it really is like a special and unique game. And what you touched on there is that it now makes it accessible to an audience that previously wouldn't have been able to get it. Because I'm sure the actual cartridge for The World Ends With You on DS is probably well over $100. I would imagine it's quite a rare game.
Oh yeah.
And obviously you can emulate or whatever if that's what you like to do, but it's very inaccessible. And I think that's a big thing that I kind of want on this list as a definitive list, is that I kind of give a bit more weighting to the games that make older games accessible to more people. Yeah. And that's another reason why I put it on the list.
All right, Adam, I want to put this on Catch. You sold me. The fact that you have never played the DS version and you still feel that strongly about this, to me solidifies how strong of a game it really is. Like the aesthetically, everything you touched on, the music, which I think to this day still really holds up. What I always tell people about the game is that the story really stuck with me, but it's one of the few games I've ever played in my long history of playing video games. It is one of the few games I've ever played that I am actually like concerned with and interested in the text, the words on the page, like the literal sentences that are coming out of the game. Any tree can drop an apple. I'll drop the freaking moon. There's something about that. It sticks with me. Like, why? Like, I don't know. It's almost poetry. It's like there's a lyricism in The World Ends With You that I rarely see in video games. And I find it to be so special for that reason. It is like, and no matter what version the game appears in, it like still is that to me. Yeah.
Yeah, you really touched on something there with the writing. I never clicked. That never clicked with me. Where it is almost like music or poetry.
Yes.
What you said there. So I love Hosier, Irish singer.
Yeah.
Makes very cryptic songs where you can analyze each sentence, each word. And that's why I love his music so much.
Cool.
And I never made that like build that bridge between The World Ends With You and the kind of music that I like to play. And like what I was saying with the making it more accessible, like Jake, I don't know how many copies this game sold, but there are potentially millions of people who have played The World's End With You now because it's on the Switch.
Yep. Cool. And just what you're saying right there, connecting the it's like music. It's a game that is also concerned with music and concerned with sound and noise. So like that stuff is done purposefully. It finds a reason to be concerned with its own text by relating it to, you know, your main character is like always wearing headphones, you know. At one point, Joshua in the game says, everyone has their own little internal world, a secret garden only they can enter. And it's like, this is a game that has this main character who kind of like falls into their own little world, and like the game is called The World Ends With You, and it's like, what does that even mean? It's like, it's even that title I think is like there's something compelling about it. Wow, this is my first real big surprise of this. I gotta tell you,
I knew you loved that game. That's why I opened so strong. It's like, this has to be a catch. It has to be.
No, I was ready to glide right over it, but you reminded me. You reignited my my love for this game. Dear God. Whew, okay. Wow, that was beautiful. How do I even follow it up? Let's see.
That's
okay.
number one, baby. It's number
That's
one.
number one. All right, let me throw out. I'm curious what your perspective is on this game.
Okay.
Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
Such a brutal, irrational world we live in. Some believe the crests, tokens of the goddess's power, are necessary to maintain order. But they're wrong, teacher. The crests are to blame.
Oh no! No, you say no.
No.
No, okay. What's your experience with this game?
So my experience with this game
Yeah.
is that I played Fire Emblem Awakening on the 3DS.
Right.
Loved it. Loved
Okay.
it.
Wow.
I
okay.
sold it. I sold it, unfortunately, and
Yeah.
it's worth a load of money now. But anyway.
Right.
And what I loved about that game is that it never really bogged you down. Like there was obviously loads of conversations in between battles and all that, but
Yeah.
it still just gave you those battles that were almost like playing chess.
Yeah.
They were just so engaging. And then Three Houses was coming out, and I was like, oh, finally, I'll kind of be there for the launch of a Fire Emblem game. I'll be there and I'll be able to play it at launch. And I was very excited for it because it looked fantastic. And it is fantastic when you're in the combat and you're moving your people around, you're building your characters, and he's good with a sword, he's good with an axe, he's good with this, blah, blah, blah. And then you get back to the school. And you're walking around potentially like extremely ugly environments, okay? The school looks absolutely dreadful. And then it's like, oh, here's your teacher. Take her out on a coffee date. Make some cucumber sandwiches with her or something. It's like, oh,
It's actually worse than that because you're the teacher and they're your students.
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
it's creepy. It's creepy.
Okay. Yeah. You know
It's
what?
creepy.
You know what, Adam? I accept this. I accept
Yeah.
it. I accept that it's creepy.
Because- Because I love it when I'm in the combat. I love
Yeah.
that section of it, but all the parts in between is just no.
All right. I'll accept this as a rejection. My pitch for it is that out of every Fire Emblem game, I think it has the strongest initial premise. There are 3 houses that are these schools. It's very in the school of Harry Potter or Pokemon, where
Yep.
you make this initial choice at the beginning and kind of form an identity around it. And that I think was enough to pull people in a way. But now that you're the way that you were talking about 3 Houses, I actually have another game in my notes that I think maybe speaks better to what I like about 3 Houses. So we'll get to that later. I'm willing to say 3. I think this is our first rejection.
Yes.
Okay.
I want to reject it.
Reject-
I'm
yeah.
open to putting it on the drift, but more than I think a rejection is.
No, I think it's okay. I'll allow it. Yep. Okay. Great. What is your next nomination? Now, just for the people playing at home, we currently have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 9 games, so we're looking for our 10th game to put on this list right now, potentially.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the next game I'm going to nominate
Yeah.
is one that is one of my favorite games ever created. And you can play it elsewhere. But again, I think it calls back to that old school RPG fans. And that is Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch.
So this is your world.
That's right. A whole nother world. Let's be off, shall we?
Whoa.
And the reason is, okay,
yeah.
so Studio Ghibli did some of the cut, or they did the art for this game, and the cutscenes are second to none, unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Ollie and Drippy,
Yep.
2 of the most endearing characters, and such a fantastic relationship of just a little English boy and his Welsh teddy that comes to life. And look, Jake, I actually brought a prop for this, okay?
Yes, please.
Here is my Winnie the Pooh.
Yes, excellent.
As you can see, no legs, hole in his neck.
Oh.
He's in bits. I've had him since 2002.
Okay.
And he's still alive, okay?
Yeah.
And there's just something about Ni no Kuni that, because I'm just trying to put this in words, like I would go on adventures with this teddy bear. I would
Yes.
bring him everywhere. And Nino Cooney almost brought me back to when I was a kid. And I was taking this teddy to a water park. I was taking him to theme parks. I was taking him on roller coasters, to the forest, to the playground, everywhere. I took him absolutely everywhere. And I think just that premise of a little boy who has seen some serious grief, like serious stuff he's had to deal with, and he goes on an adventure with his little teddy bear, just spoke to me in a way that no other game has. And that's why it's one of my favorite games ever created. And playing it on the Switch is great.
Where did you first play this game?
I played it first on the PlayStation 4.
Okay. So my thing with this is that I love this game too. I think that this game definitely has impact, but for me, the impact of the game is detached from the impact on Nintendo Switch. I think it's a little time and place. Like it's a little bit like, could I simply take Pokemon Blue, put it on Nintendo Switch, and then say, well, Pokemon Blue needs to be on our list. You know what I mean? It's like I've got to draw the line somewhere. And for me, the impact of Ni no Kuni stands on its own in a way that
you don't associate it with Switch?
I don't associate it with Switch, and I also don't think that the Switchness of the console is like speaking to the needs of that game. Because I almost think I would, and I know you can do this on Switch, but I think I would actually prefer to play that game like big TV, headphones on, long play sessions on like my PS5. I think I might prefer that. What do you think about that?
Oh, I can accept that. That was probably one of the more personal picks.
Yeah, I understand.
Of just a game that I love so much, and the fact that it's on the Switch, I want to put it on the list. And for anybody out there, even if it doesn't make it on the list, play that game.
Yeah, dude. They're seeing the footage. They're seeing it. They're going, ooh. Yeah. Okay.
And the music, unbelievable.
Yeah, dude. Man, that's such a cool game. You're making me want to replay that now.
Yeah, I want to replay it now as well.
Yeah. All right, Adam, let me take you to the world of Pokemon. No, that's Zelda. I messed up. I want to tell you a little bit about a game called Pokemon Legends Arceus. I think if somebody is like, I got a Nintendo Switch, I want to play a Pokemon game, I haven't played Pokemon in years, I'm not giving them Brilliant Diamond. I'm not even giving them Scarlet and Violet. I'm definitely not giving them Sword and Shield. I'm saying, listen. I think you might be surprised. I'm giving them Legends Arceus. And I think that it is the Pokemon game that takes the biggest swings, and I think has the most successful swing to miss ratio out of those swings. It's a game that is actually like concerned with you, the player, for once. The first time ever in a Pokemon game. It's like, look at you and how you are in this world. It's a Pokemon game with a satisfying feeling of locomotion, something I did not think was possible. Like throwing a ball. We've never really been able to do that before in a Pokemon game. And yet I can rear back, aim, and throw a Pokeball. I am inhabiting this world in a way that I've always imagined and wanted to inhabit this world. Before this game came out, the idea of a Pokemon doing an attack and it hitting the trainer, we would have said they'll never allow that. That will never happen. That is a dream. That is a child's fantasy. And they did it. And we shouldn't forget that. There was a world in which this was impossible. And there it is right in front of us. I think it's a great game. And I think out of all the Pokemon games, it is easily the one that deserves to be on this list.
Yes. Throw it in a catch, Jake.
Throw it in a catch.
I totally agree with everything you said. Now, I have only played about 15 hours of Legends Arceus because it came out at the wrong time before Elden Ring and all these games came out that I was reviewing. So I will beat it actually this year. I want to do it.
Yep.
But yeah, I think going from playing Legends Arceus to then playing Scarlet and Violet, it's just a complete regression. It's just a regression. You're finally being able to walk around the world. You see a Pokemon, throw a Pokeball. It just removes the friction of playing Pokemon, the thing that we all hate about playing the other Pokemon games. And I don't know how they managed to step backwards with Scarlet and Violet, but whatever they want to do. And the art style as well. I think the art style really, really sticks out in my head because Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet are not only from like a technical, like, or the like technical specs of the game, like the draw distance is bad, the textures are bad. I just don't think the art style is memorable at all. Like nothing sticks out in my head about them games being memorable visually, but Legends Arceus does. And it's also cool that it's also cool that we're finally going back to sort of the times when we were discovering Pokemon, and you're kind of getting a bit more of the history of the Pokemon world.
Yeah, the thing you said about the art style, it has a defined art style so that in Scarlet and Violet, I think things often feel like assets dropped in a world, and it doesn't congeal. And Legends Arceus, it does, it congeals. So many sweet things about that game, dude. Just like the joy of discovering a Pokemon again, for me, was totally back. Seeing what they were doing, the fact that Pokemon had reactions to the player, so good. Instead of just like wandering around in like a circle, like just CPU nonsense. Oh my God, Legends Arceus. Now, in the future, you and I discussed this off screen, but of course, there is a new Legends game coming to Nintendo Switch. Yes. And if we decide that there needs to be a change, we will, of course, hold an emergency meeting and we'll come back. We'll address the list. We'll see if it goes on. But for now, Pokemon Legends Arceus, that's a catch. Okay. Yes. So that would make it our 10th game on the board. Adam, what is your next nomination?
My next nomination, Jake, is... I think the Nintendo Switch was an indie machine for a while until it kind of... some of the indie games stopped running very well. And what better than an indie game that uses a Nintendo IP... and that is Cadence of Hyrule. I don't like the look in your face, Jake.
Is Cadence of Hyrule fun?
Yes.
Is it more neat than it is fun?
Oh, it's fun.
It's fun. It's fun.
Okay. Before we get into this, did you like Cryptid the Necrodancer?
Yes.
And you didn't like Cadence of Hyrule?
I think Cadence of Hyrule is just as good as Cryptid the Necrodancer.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah,
but Cadence of Hyrule has an IP that Nintendo has given to other people. Okay, but I think. And again, there's another game later on the list, spoilers, where Nintendo gave their IP to someone, which doesn't happen very often. And I think that is just unique. I think that's another sort of thing that I went with on my list is, does it stand out in your head? And would you have ever thought, Jake, sitting down, we would have said, Nintendo are going to not only give their IP to another company, they're going to give their IP to an indie company, and it's going to not be like some obscure IP, it's going to be probably their second most important IP in their whole history.
All right. I'll put it on a drift. You got me on that. Okay. You're right. There is something striking about it. There's something striking in a way that is special. I agree. Okay. All right. We'll discuss placement in the future.
Yep.
All right. For my next nomination, I want to throw out. I want to get back to the locks, the goodies. Okay. Those first party sweeties. Mario Odyssey. Yeah. First year of the Nintendo Switch. It feels like magic is just in great supply. Yeah. This Zelda game comes out, everybody loves it. Splatoon 2, Mario Kart, and then I think it's October of that year, Mario Odyssey, a Mario game that is focused on what I have personally always wanted a Mario game to be focused on, a 3D Mario game. It is focused on exploration and discovery. And to combine a game about looking and exploring and adventuring and discovering, with the discovery of the main mechanic, throwing the cap and saying, oh my God, what gameplay mechanism am I going to discover by inhabiting this creature? Such a delightful spin on Mario power-ups, which, Adam, I've always had this feel. I've never loved Mario power-ups. I've never loved them. They've always felt a little all or nothing to me. It's always like, I don't know. They've never spoken to me. And inhabiting the creatures who we have spent years and years and years getting to know, but have never seen them in this way, with a little Mario cap and mustache, to me, inspired decision. Every single time you see something with a Mario cap and a mustache, you go, how did we go this long before doing this? How?
Yep.
Yeah, a brilliant video game.
Yep, it's a genius mechanic, and I mean it's probably the quickest lock that we could get on this list.
Cool.
And one thing I just want to touch on is, I think, obviously Mario has always controlled amazingly. He has, and even on the N64, he controlled amazing. Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy, he's always just been. They just understand how to make a character feel good. But I think they perfected it, like genuine mechanical perfection, and that doesn't happen very often in games. And obviously it goes to show the chops of Nintendo. But there's just something about controlling Mario. You could have given me a completely empty sandbox, like a completely flat room, and still controlling Mario would be fun. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we give you all these cool levels, and you're not going to a Fire Kingdom. Or well, you are going to a Fire Kingdom. That was a bad example. But you're not just going to like the ice level or the forest. Again, bad example because there is a forest level. But you know what I mean. You're going to this weird forest that's like a broke down factory, and then you're going to New Donk City, which is just so weird. I still can't believe that there's actual humans in Mario. And one thing, and again going back to the switchness of this game, is that all the moons are designed to be played as sort of a pick up and play. Like if you want to play for 45 minutes, you can collect 10 moons. But if you only have 15 minutes on the bus, you could probably collect 1 or 2 moons. And it just speaks to the handheld nature of playing on the Switch. And it's just, I genuinely think like Odyssey is a near perfect game.
Yeah,
and
me too.
Again, just speaking to the time it came out at a perfect time.
Oh,
it was
magic,
around Halloween.
Yeah.
I was sick and I was in bed with a fever, and for like a week I played Mario Odyssey straight, and it was just brilliant. That year specifically, the magic of that Switch, because I was in college, so I kind of didn't go in very often because I was playing Breath of the Wild or something, and it was a magical time.
There's a little synergy there too in Halloween, how like Halloween's about like putting on costumes and inhabiting like characters or creatures or whatever, and like that's what Mario's doing in the game, and they wear like a little Mario costume, so there's a little synergy there. But the thing you said about just being in like a white room and having fun, Mario is the platforming king. He is the jump man, and I have never really felt like Mario was that powerful in terms of being a platforming guy, except for in this game. In this game, I was like, oh, dog can jump. I am a god.
Anywhere.
I can, The way that you're able to manipulate your character around in that world, throw the hat, do the little dive, bounce off the hat, do another little spin thing, dude. Oh my god, so much fun. It was like it like took me back to like PS2 skateboarding games where it's just like you're just like doing all this crazy stuff. Really good time. Dang, Mario Odyssey, what a game. All right, Adam, your next submission.
Okay, going from an absolute catch to the biggest drift you will ever see in your life, Jake.
Oh dear God. Okay.
Starlink Battle for Atlas.
It's like they're outnumbered.
You know what I'm thinking.
Immediate reject. This is not a fun video game. It's not a fun video game. It's listen, it is I get it. I had some fun playing it, but it is not a fun video game. It has mechanics in it, individual things that are fun, but as a thing, as a thing that you see from beginning to end, no, absolutely not. No. Any other structure would have been better for that game.
I totally agree with what you have to say, Jake, okay? But as Ubisoft open world style games go, all of them are like that. Every single one of them have all these different individual things that might be fun together, but once you gel them all together and you play the game for 70 hours, you realize it's all just bloat. At the end of the day, I think, again, it just goes with the switchness Like, if you think of the sort of Nintendo made toys. They did all this, everything is childlike. And even though I was like, when did that game come out? 2018? I was 20 years old. When I went over to GameStop, I might have felt a bit embarrassed buying it. Maybe I did. But I got my box. I got my cool Starship or Star.
The
or
R-Wing? Did you get the R-Wing?
Yeah, the R. Yeah. And that's another thing I have to touch on. Is that this is probably the best Star Fox game ever made.
Wow, utter disrespect to Fox McCloud, dude.
The other games are fine, but I just mean just having that toy.
No, the toy is good. The toy is good. I agree.
Yeah, the toy was good, and I think again. Okay, throw it off the list, Jake. Throw it off the list.
No, yeah, it's off the list, but just some appreciation. Yeah. Listen, Adam, I got to tell you, when they did the expansion and they said you can now play as Slippy Toad. That did a lot for me. You
were locked in.
I got to tell you, I played the whole game as Slippy Toad.
Yep. Jake, I know this is a Nintendo talk, but why didn't Sony do a Ratchet and Clank tie-in?
Adam, makes me so mad.
Then that would have been like top 10 games ever created.
Dude.
Simple. Would have been on my top 10 PlayStation games ever.
And you know what was a bummer with that game? Is that I wanted the good performance, but I wanted the good performance combined with the character I liked. So if I could have had that on PlayStation, that would have made me really happy. But I didn't like in that game how the characters were like, they were like Pokemon in a way, or like their weapons were. So you had to like be switching things all the time. And I was like, oh no, that's not what you want to get attached to your one thing, I think. But I don't know.
I would disagree. You know, it's an action RPG. You're building out your car and you're building out your loadouts and all that. And it actually felt fun, like controlling the ship on the planet and moving around.
I agree with that. Yeah,
really
I agree with
smooth.
that. Yeah. All right. I don't think it's in the top 20.
I know it was out there. It was definitely out there.
It was, yeah. Okay, that's fine. I like the nod. All right, Adam. WarioWare Move It.
Get your body moving in over 200 lightning fast micro games.
I think this is the best WarioWare game.
I've played one.
Okay.
WarioWare games.
I think this is the best WarioWare game. I think WarioWare is about the moment. It is about the moment that a game comes up, and it is the moment in between the game telling you what to do and you doing the action. That is what WarioWare is about. It is like the tension of a joke that has yet to receive a punchline. And it's like, oh, when am I going to release this laugh? Yeah. And that moment in which your brain does a double take and you go, and then you realize what you're supposed to do with the controller, I think is really well realized with the Switch Joy-Con and the different movements you're supposed to do. And even like the finickiness of motion controls, because there is something in the game that is supposed to be an execution barrier. It's supposed to be like, oh, it wants you to trip all over yourself. And I think that there was like a really good DS WarioWare game, but I wasn't tripping over myself, because eventually you just get good enough that it becomes, it's too comfortable. And whereas the motion controls, I think, make it so you will never be fully comfortable with what you're doing. And I think that that's the essence of WarioWare. That's my pitch.
Yeah, I think I'll put that in a drift, definitely.
Great.
Because I did only ever play the one on the DS, but I can see what you mean by that. Yeah. I remember playing it on the DS. You could just do everything so perfectly. Yeah. And it's almost kind of calling back to that Wii Sports kind of thing. Like, part of the Wii Sports was when you were playing boxing against your friend, you were just kind of like wiggling around like, oh no, maybe I'll punch him, maybe I'll get him, or you were like wiggling to hit the ball in tennis or something like that. So no. It's a drift.
Also, a nod. I played the entire game, the campaign. I played the entire campaign co-op with my fiance Sarah. We just had a great time. Like a great co-op experience. It's really cool that they figured it out so that you could do that and play the whole game 2 players like that. Really nice. Yeah. Cool. All right, what do you got for me?
Well, I think this list needed at least one roguelite. Because they are the sort of indie game of the last 10 years. Every single game is a roguelite. I love roguelites. Right.
Yeah.
And I think most people will be like, oh, it's going to be Hades. But
not us. Not us. No,
not us.
No. I got one here too, so I'm curious to see what
it's going to be the best roguelite ever made. maybe not the grandfather of roguelikes, I would say maybe the dad of roguelikes.
Okay.
Or roguelite, if we want to get technical.
Yep.
And it's Binding of Isaac.
I'm so disappointed.
I know you don't like the game.
I'm so
Jake,
disappointed. Though you want to put that little baby, that little weirdo fetus thing on our top 20 Switch games? That little sicko?
See, Jake, okay.
He's crying, he's naked.
Yeah, I know, but the game just has this weird tone, like probably one of the strangest tones, just this grotesque, everything is poo, uteruses, uteri, wombs, everything. It's weird. You're fighting hearts, you're farting, you're shooting out tears. But what this game does, and I don't think any roguelite has done since, is give you so many secrets and so many different permutations of things that you can do that will then affect the next floor. Or if you don't take damage on a boss, you will get a deal with the devil. If you don't take damage on 2 bosses, you'll get another deal with the devil. And then eventually that will change everything later down the line. You can go to hell, you can fight this. But if you do something else, and maybe you unlock a lot of shortcuts, you can find this item that will then bring you to heaven. And there's just... I understand Binding of Isaac has had over 10 years of updates, so no wonder it has all this content and all these amazing secrets. But I just don't think any other roguelike has ever touched it in that sense. There's been roguelites that have better boss fights, that have better mechanics, but none of them have come close to that sort of sense of discovery and secrets that the Binding of Isaac has.
And I look at the Binding of Isaac and I say, all right, to me, it's almost the same game, but I prefer Enter the Gungeon. I think that I had probably the same experience you had with Binding of Isaac on Switch. I had a period of time where all I was playing was Enter the Gungeon on Switch. There are a couple of things that that is not going to be the one I'm submitting, though. I have a different roguelite that I would like to see be in this position on the list. I'm glad we did not bring up Dead Cells.
Yep.
I don't understand that game.
Yeah, Dead Cells never really clicked with me.
Okay.
I've tried it so much. So much.
Yeah. Hades, I don't think sings on Switch quite as well as some of these other games that we're talking about. Because I would guess that the Binding of Isaac, I could see somebody saying, no, the Switch is like my ideal platform for this. I could see that. Same with Enter the Gungeon. I want to put my submission for roguelite in conversation with Binding of Isaac, though. I'm submitting Dicey Dungeons.
Made by an Irish guy.
That's right. Are you familiar?
Yes.
Okay. So for those that don't know, Dicey Dungeons, it's essentially like a kind of like a deck building roguelite game, something in the vein of a Slay the Spire, but kind of toned down a little bit. Slay the Spire was a contender for me when I was thinking about this list, but again, I don't think the impact of that game is on Switch, especially since you've got like the daily challenges and the leaderboards and stuff. I think that there's other platforms where maybe that game is more at home. So Dicey Dungeons is the one to me that fits on Switch because I think that it's aesthetic, it's music, the kind of like style of that game, of it kind of being this fake dice rolling tabletop game starring these like funny little dice characters. I think that there's like a synergy with the Nintendo Switch where it belongs on that platform in a way that, as just aesthetics, I would say that Binding of Isaac turns me off and Dicey Dungeons brings me in. And that,
I can understand that the Binding of Isaac is very off-putting, and usually I'm not into them sort of grotesque games. Like I like Bloodborne, but Bloodborne is very visceral and viscous, and you have all these fetus stuff, and it's a weird game, and is a lot like Binding of Isaac in that sense. I can understand what you mean by the aesthetic, and I think that will probably be one of the biggest battles that we have at the end of this, because one roguelike has to make.
I agree. It's tough. It's one of those that if we were streaming this, I would be so curious to see what people which one people would lean towards, because to me, the Dicey Dungeons, I think is special in that I think it's a great first roguelite to ever play. I also think it's a good one for people that like the genre, and I think that that's rare, because I think it's a game that starts off slow, kind of teaches you how it works, and then gets really, really difficult. And as you beat it, kind of like there's like other characters you can play as that are a little more complex, and then there's like these challenge modes that make things really like, oh man, now this enemy has a twist that you've never seen them have before. But it's also just one of those games that I think, again, aesthetically, it's special, I'm willing to say. I'm like, nothing looks like that art style. There's something about it, man. I just really like it. I don't know. Yeah, Dicey Dungeons. I don't know what to do with these, Adam. This is the first one that I'm really like, I don't. We're having a quarrel in the kingdom. Yeah.
I think they're both drifts.
They're both drifts.
I think they're both going to be. One of them has to go.
Okay, we'll discuss it.
I think, yeah.
Okay. So what are we looking at our list right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Dear God. Okay. Adam, I would like to put The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
I knew you were going to say that.
I would like to put Breath of the Wild on this list. Impact.
Yeah. Okay.
Impact. Time and place. This is a video game synonymous with the launch of the Nintendo Switch. And I think like cultural relevance, Nintendo relevance, what Breath of the Wild did for the franchise, did for the Nintendo Switch, even though it is a Wii U game, it is inexorably tied to this video game machine in a way that is exclusively regarded as positive. Rare for that to ever happen, but also just to speak to it as a video game. Inhabiting a strange new world that is completely open. The introduction of the climb anything mechanic, which now is almost ubiquitous in games. The glider. How many games adopted the glider after Breath of the Wild? But just being somebody in this unfamiliar world, kind of stepping into these memories, trying to get to know it better. The given circumstance of something happened here and I don't remember it. Going to every town. There are a few games that like lit up my imagination the way that Breath of the Wild did. It was like the story I formed in my head was so powerful. And I think for me, that's what makes that game amazing, is that the author's thumb, the thumb of the developers is a light press in Breath of the Wild. They're like, yeah, stuff happened here. You can engage with that but otherwise we're kind of, you can see what's going on. You can talk to people. It's about you forming your own story, making your own decisions. Which way am I going to go in? Why am I going that way? The story of Breath of the Wild is more powerful than the narrative, than the plot. Because the story is what you are writing for yourself. When you look at that little map and it shows you the line of everywhere you've been, that is the story of that game. And it doesn't have a lot of narrative elements that are constantly impacting your experience. It lets the story breathe. The game doesn't rush you, and you're supposed to take your time. And there's just so much about that I think it is a game in balance with itself. And I know this goes without saying, but pretty much everything I just said is kind of why I prefer it over Tears of the Kingdom. I think people know I have that opinion by now. So I'm not trying to be like, shocker, I'm not trying to do that. But yeah, for me, it's special. It is special for that reason. So Breath of the Wild.
Yes. So obviously Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom were on my list.
Correct.
And
Give me your truth, Adam. Speak your truth. Don't let me affect you.
Well,
yeah.
No. My truth is that I prefer Tears of the Kingdom as a game.
Okay.
I never beat it. I never beat the story, but as a sort of how the mechanics, how you know the way you were saying the developers have a light press of their thumb on you.
The author's thumb.
Yeah, I think in this one they don't have anything on you because
Interesting.
because of the Ultra Hand. It is almost, because I think as gamers, especially as gamers who have played a lot of games, there's so many times where we're in a game and it's like, oh, we can't go through that door because there's rubble there. And it's like, well, I could just climb up there and go through that. But in Breath of the Wild, and it's later improved in Tears of the Kingdom, almost everything that you can think of, you can do. If you want to build a helicopter, you can build a helicopter. If you want to launch a Korok across the sky to his death, you can do it. All these sort of stuff. I remember on my stream, I had to get to another island, and on the stream, we just had a great time because I found a load of logs and just glued it all together and built a massive bridge to go across it. And not many games let you do that. But I like what you said about the impact, because while I think Tears of the Kingdom is a better game, now bear in mind, I haven't beat the story, but I put 70 or 80 hours into the game. But while I think Tears of the Kingdom is a better game, Breath of the Wild had way more impact, because unfortunately, you cannot capture, as much as hard as they try, and I do think they did a pretty good job at it in Tears of the Kingdom, you cannot capture that initial feeling that Breath of the Wild gave us. You will never be able to recapture that. And also, it was a launch title, which gives it that extra bit of that, just that tiny bit more. So, my number one on my list here is Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom. And because you made the argument for impact, Jake, even though I prefer Tears of the Kingdom as a game, Breath of the Wild is going on the list.
Excellent, dude. It's funny, Adam. I think that you can really learn a lot about people by asking them why they prefer one over the other. I think it's actually like a really interesting question. And the thing you said about like, you feel like you have so much freedom, so you don't feel the author's thumb. That is the exact reason why I do feel it, because I felt like Ultra Hand was a mechanic that was there because it was a video game and the developers thought it was fun. And it's like every time I was using the Ultra Hand, I was like, this is more impressive and interesting than it is impactful. I never like felt like there was this weaving of the Ultra Hand with what I was doing in the game. It just felt like a tool that was fun in and of itself in a video game, and that's why it was there. So I felt the presence of a developer being like, this is fun. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but like if that doesn't occur to you, then I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying we have different, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, because for me, when I think of the Breath of the Wild powers, even though they make sense in the world and stuff, it's like, you have a very specific, like you are locked into these parameters of what you can do. Like you're in this shrine, so you have to use the ice block to traverse the next part. But in Tears of the Kingdom, and I understand the Breath of the Wild, you can do anything you want, but you kind of have to do glitches and kind of learn the mechanics really intricately. I
see what you're saying.
Yeah, but in Tears of the Kingdom, the developers, like what I said in my video on Tears of the Kingdom is that I think part of the thought process of the developers of Tears of the Kingdom was, we saw all these amazing videos of people doing all these glitches, and you know, you'd freeze stuff, you'd stasis it, you'd hit it, you'd jump on a log, and then you'd launch yourself. And we saw how much fun people had with that. So what we did was we built a tool that will allow you to do that and not have to glitch or kind of learn these sort of workarounds. It's like, there you go. You just do what you want.
I like it.
Yeah.
Cool. But Breath of the Wild.
Okay. Yeah, but no. Breath of the Wild is going on the list because of the impact.
Okay, I like it.
You just did 2 games on the trot.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
So I'm going to go with one that is I think is a 100% lock. And Jake, if you argue with this, no. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope.
Sparks of Hope?
Yes.
Oh, Adam, I would say that this is an instant rejection.
Jake.
Yes, Adam, the Kingdom Battle is a better game than Sparks of Hope.
No, it's not.
The
No.
sense of place, the fusion of the Mario world is what makes that game like memorable and interesting. And then in Sparks of Hope, they say, I hope you like extremely long load times, and I hope you like super generic, muddy looking, boring, rabid environments that we make you do bad puzzles and bad platforming in. The battles are good, but that's it.
I don't know. So here's my argument for Sparks of Hope. Anyway, I believe is Kingdom Battle on your list?
No, these are both not on my list, but I
Okay.
feel strongly that Kingdom Battle was a better game. Yeah.
For me, I think Kingdom Battle felt like it was a fan fiction game.
Whoa.
And they needed a way to meld
Uh-huh.
somehow the Rabbids and the Mario world into one. And I understand the environments, like that part
Yeah.
is cool, especially the Donkey Kong
Yeah.
the Donkey Kong DLC. That was really cool. I enjoy that.
Mhm.
But what I like about Sparks of Hope is that, as I said, Kingdom Battle feels like fan fiction. But in Kingdom Battle, and I'm not saying it was like, or in Sparks of Hope, I'm not saying it's an amazing story, but it felt like the Nintendo overlords were pulled away from them. It's like Nintendo were over the top of Ubisoft, and they were like, oh, you need to kind of make this very, very Mario. We don't want that much Rabbid stuff. And then they pulled it back, and then they were like, make your own game. And when they made their own game, I will admit the environments are a bit boring in comparison to Kingdom Battle, but when they made their own game, they had some interesting boss fights, and they had a combat system that is 50 million times better than Kingdom Battle.
I don't know if it's 50 million times better. I agree that it's better. I agree that it's better.
Yeah.
I agree that it's better. See, what you perceive as Nintendo letting them do whatever they want, I perceive as Nintendo saying, figure out your own stuff. I'm like, they take away their toys. And now it's like, oh no, now we're left with Ubisoft bleh. And I agree. I like the stuff that they did to change up the battle. I don't know if I particularly enjoyed the removal of the grid and the change to kind of like the free movement. I'm still torn on if I prefer one over the other. There's like another tactics game that's kind of similar, the Persona 5 Tactica game, if you ever took a look at that.
No, I've never played.
Yeah. But yeah, there's something about Sparks of Hope that I think, again, if my keyword for when I'm looking at games for my list is impact, Sparks of Hope, I feel like the impact is like, it's just nothing. It's like a conservative iteration on a admittedly good first idea. But like, does it do enough after the first idea for me to go, oh my God, this really justified a whole sequel? And I think for me, the answer is no, because the most exciting thing about Sparks of Hope for me is Bowser.
Yeah, see, I think this is where we differ as gamers. I think Kingdom Battle did justify being a sequel because it improved the gameplay so much.
You just had a Freudian slip there, Adam. You just said Kingdom Battle.
That Kingdom or that Sparks of Hope improved on Kingdom Battle because the combat was better.
Okay, I see. So
I think for you, you're like, oh, the story maybe wasn't great or this or that, and you can admit that the combat is better. But for me, I think the combat is so much better because they removed the grid system. Because as I always say in all my videos, expressiveness. That's what I want in my video games. Yeah. And this combat system is just less restrictions on you. It kind of follows the same thing, but even just the sort of the mental block of being locked into a grid, even if it was just the fact that they removed the grid, that would already make the combat feel significantly more freer.
Adam, I'm gonna put this on Drift, but only because I think it will. I think the truth will come out. I think the truth will come out as we talk further. All right, let's.
Wait! I need to give two because you gave two.
Oh, please! Yes.
What one am I going for? I am going for Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Jesus Christ! What are you doing? What are you doing to our list?
You're a blade.
As the driver of the Aegis, Can you take me to Elysium?
All right, tell me how Xenoblade Chronicles 2 speaks to you.
Well,
2?
see, specifically, I've never beaten Xenoblade 3. To be honest, Jake, I've never beaten a Xenoblade game. I put 80 hours into Xenoblade 2, and I was like 10 hours from finishing it, and I stopped. Okay? So do with that what you will. But what I will say is I believe this was kind of where I was in the... I want a list of games that is all-encompassing. It has something for everybody. That was my thought process behind Xenoblade 2. And I already knew that Ni no Kuni is, obviously it's a JRPG, but it's one of my favorite games ever, but it was already, a bit of a wishy-washy entry on the list because of it's not really a Switch game.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Can you give me a better JRPG on the Switch?
Easily.
That isn't Dragon Quest 11?
Yes.
That isn't Persona 5? That isn't Persona 4?
Yes.
That isn't a Final Fantasy port?
Octopath Traveler 2.
I plan to do all I can to share the wealth and help make the world a happier place. That's what being a merchant means to me.
That game...
one of the best JRPGs ever made. A perfect match for the Switch. A game about connections. A game about solidarity.
Sorry, Jake, a game about connections, but your party members don't interact with each other whatsoever.
They are on parallel journeys. They are creating solidarity in their communities. It is a game about where everyone is concerned with the same thematic intentions while having completely different immediate circumstances. It is a game that requires you to play it like you're reading a book. You need to settle in. Your mind needs to be focused. If you are mashing through the dialogue, you will not like Octopath Traveler 2. If you are listening to a podcast, you will not like Octopath Traveler 2. But if you engage with that game, if you on its terms and you accept it for what it is and you give it the focus and attention that it requires, there is a toothy, a meaty, there is a substantive video game in Octopath Traveler 2 for discerning gamers.
Oh, Jake, you just pulled that, did you? You just pulled that one.
It's for discerning gamers.
All I will say about Octopath 2, Jake, is I love the battle system. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah,
obviously it
that's
looks
true.
brilliant. It looks brilliant. But how are you going to get me invested in characters that don't interact with each other?
It's about the words, Adam. It's about the words.
No, but Jake, I want when part of JRPGs is the party.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And when I think back on all of the best JRPGs, like as I said earlier, Drippy, Ollie, they have this great relationship. Mm-hmm. You look at Titus and Yuna, you look at Tifa and Aerith, and you have all of these amazing characters. And there's like a heart to all of these JRPGs that I think Octopath Traveler 2 was missing. And it's because of that. Because every single time I got to a new character, it was like, oh, play their prologue chapter. And the prologue chapters I never found very interesting. And they also felt like it was stopping you dead in your tracks. I almost think Octopath Traveler 2 would have been... Now, how they would have worked this out, it would have been quite complicated. But if you had met the characters at different areas and you met them at different points in their story, so that you don't have to experience their story to be caught up to them. You don't have to go back and play their prologue chapter to be caught up to where they are. Instead, they join your party, and then your two party members interact with each other, and then you learn about their backstory through conversations between them, rather than you sort of feeling like you have to stop dead in your tracks to then experience their story to be caught up.
I just think the storytelling style of Octopath Traveler 2 is purposefully different from what you are describing. You are asking the game to adhere to a structure that is familiar to you and it is successful. And you say, why don't they do this successful thing? But I think what Octopath Traveler 2 does is that it adopts an anthology style storytelling that is in line with something like the Canterbury Tales, if you ever had to like read that in school. And it's like short stories, the video game. And you go through and you have vignettes of these characters that speak to who they are, what they are. You meet Particio, the merchant dude, and his whole thing is about buying and selling. And then over the course of his little journey, he realizes that he cares more about people than he does profits, and has something to say about capitalism that is material, substantial. It like actually has commentary in a video game, in a JRPG nonetheless. And I just found that, to me, these vignettes were extremely successful at like imparting larger than life themes and symbols in these little bits that are more successful at hitting these different themes because they're broken up and because you have to meet everyone at page 0 rather than it being one narrative with one thing from start to finish. I don't need another JRPG where the overall lesson is friendship makes you stronger. I don't need that. And instead, this goes a step further, and it says, how do we empower each other? How do we do that? And you see that with Particio, and you see that with how he activates his community and the lessons that he learns. And you see that with a lot of these characters, but it's done in a way that I think is more creative than, hey, you're in the party, and since you're in the party, we're more powerful now. That is my pitch on Octopath 2. I understand this is a very Jake game. I get that. But my thing is this. I feel as strongly positive about Octopath Traveler 2 as I do negative about Sparks of Hope. So I want to make an arrangement here. I want to have
doing a trade.
I would like to make an arrangement. I'm willing to put Sparks of Hope on here if you are willing to put Octopath 2 on here. I will lock in Sparks of Hope. I will put it in cash.
Okay. Yep. Okay. I agree because I think Xenoblade has lost anyway.
It's lost. We don't have the passion for it.
But I think a lot of the same stuff that you said about Octopath can be said about Xenoblade 3 or 2, and all the Xenoblade games really, where Xenoblade 2 doesn't get good until 30 or 40 hours into the game.
Oh, see, and I think Octopath is okay. So first off, just brass tacks. I will prefer the Octopath combat over Xenoblade's any day of the week.
Oh, I love Xenoblade's combat.
Really?
I love it.
Man, I guess anytime I've tried it, I've always been of the mind of like, I feel like it's playing itself.
Well, it is. How far have you played Xenoblade 2? I think Xenoblade 2. Now, I almost beat Xenoblade 1.
Yeah.
I almost beat Xenoblade 2, and I only put 15 hours into Xenoblade 3. So obviously, this is why that part is a bit wishy-washy, because I can't really fully speak about it. But I've only played 2,
and I got maybe 20 hours into it before I bounced off, because it was the first one that came out on Switch, and I was like, oh, I'll give this a shot. Yeah.
Xenoblade 2's combat doesn't really open up until you get the final party member.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably 30 hours in. I could be misremembering. I haven't played the game since it came out. But once you unlock the combat and you understand the combat, like remember you were saying the distinguished gamer.
Yeah.
There is a lot to it. Obviously they are feeding you tutorials at the 30-hour mark. But once you get in there and you understand how to combo the different blades and the different drivers, and you build up these two elements to stagger this enemy, and then you topple them, and eventually it becomes an exercise in how quickly can I absolutely destroy this enemy. It's like I can sit here and just chip away at them, and it's very boring, and it is very boring. But if you learn how to play it and you're learning all the systems, then you can learn how to get this big enemy and kill him in 60 seconds.
And that all sounds nice, but it doesn't. Maybe we need to have like a Geneva Convention, but it's about Xenoblade, and I get like a representative from the Xenoblade community to give me the hard sell on Xenoblade in the future. You know?
I think we do. I think I would need someone who was more of a Xenoblade person, but I also think they just feel unique as well. I don't think there are many other, like, the closest combat system I can think to is Final Fantasy 12. And I'm pretty sure Xenoblade 1 came out before Final Fantasy 12, so it's that almost MMO light combat.
I think the other thing holding me back is that the characters in Xenoblade 2 bugged me. They bugged me. I found them
cheesy it is.
I found them grating.
Yep. I can understand that. I can understand that. But Jake, when the little fluffy guy, what's his name, Tora, takes out his servant robot called Poppy, and he has made outfits for her, and he gets all. I'm not into weeb stuff. I don't watch anime. I don't read manga. But when I see that, I just laughed. It's hilarious. And I can't really make a stronger argument for Xenoblade 2.
Okay.
Plus, I'm almost certain Xenoblade 3 is considered a way better game.
I think that's the word on the street. I think people would think I think people will be mad we don't have a Xenoblade game on this list, but I think they'll be more mad it's not Xenoblade 3. Like, if we had Xenoblade 2
or Xenoblade 1, I'd imagine. I think Xenoblade 2 is the bastard child of it all.
Maybe I'll do a stream in the future where I try to play Xenoblade 1. And
Xenoblade 1 is easier to get into, way easier.
Okay. Right.
And it's not like, so Xenoblade 2 has a completely different tone to the other games.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like Xenoblade 2 went really sort of into that, like, weeby comedy kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now it's still serious and everything, but 1 and 2 are less weeby.
I'm leaving it off, Adam.
Okay.
All right. Can I put Mario Party Superstars on this list?
I wouldn't put it on my list because I've never enjoyed Mario Party.
Wow. Hot take.
Is it?
I think so.
I played Mario Party on the one I have the most experience with is the one on the DS, and I remember there was one where you had to, like, blow a load of twumps, and you just get lightheaded. Because you'd be like...
So here's my thing with Superstars. The online seems to work.
Yep.
The mini games are a collection of the mini games that everybody likes from the old games. It looks good. It plays good. It's got a decent amount of content. I think it could have more, but I kind of just see this as a staple of the Nintendo Switch diet. Like, it has a time and place, but you don't feel strongly about it.
No, I just feel nothing towards Mario Party.
Yeah.
I've never felt anything.
Wow.
Like, anytime I've played them, I've had fun. But once I'm done with, like, I'm over at my friend's house and I play it for 45 minutes, I have never given it a second thought after that. It's almost like, Jake, earlier you brought up how you and Sarah had a great time playing...
Wario,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Me and Siobhan had a great time playing Mario Golf Super Rush. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. And that game, again, is, like, mechanically it's fun.
Okay.
And it's a really fun co-op game. We had a great time playing it. But once I was done with it, I'm like, I've never given this a second thought.
All right, you know what, Adam? Okay. I'll pass it up. It's a collection of old mini games at the end of the day.
Yeah,
All right. Yeah. I'll pass it up. What do you got?
Well, I think there's one game that's missing on the list, and I don't think you're going to agree with this. Now, personally, if this was my list, and I wasn't thinking of the Nintendo-ness of it, I would put Crash Team Racing on this list. But that isn't the game I'm going to talk about. Crash Team Racing is by far the best kart racer ever created. It's so mechanically deep, it's insane.
Okay. All right.
But I won't put that on the list because it's not very Nintendo.
No.
I think Mario Kart 8 has to be on the list.
Okay.
And
please sell me.
Well, obviously it's sold millions upon millions of things.
I think it's the best selling game on Switch. Okay.
Yeah, like 50, 60 plus million units or something like that, which is insane. So I think if we're talking about impact, and you're talking about a Nintendo console, Mario Kart has to be on it. And it's the sheer fact, and there's no other reason other than it is Mario Kart, and on this list, I wanted a game that is that multiplayer game that you can go back to it and have some fun, or if you have friends over, you can sit down, you can play, you can have some fun. And I don't think we have a game on the list. And I know obviously you're just talking about Mario Party, and if I'm thinking about sort of what is the best, you have a couple of friends over in your house, what is the best sort of 4-player game you can play? And I think Mario Kart 8 is probably that.
Yeah, okay. You know what, Adam, you sold me. You said that word. You said that word impact, and it got me thinking. And I was like, you know what? It came out early in the Switch's life. It was now a handheld game. You could now do the thing where you split the Joy-Con on the flight. And I did this. And you reminded me. I went, oh my God, that was an iconic Nintendo Switch experience to be able to do that. My thing with Mario Kart 8 is this, Adam. I feel that when you look at Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, it is hard to determine what the next Smash Brothers game is. How does it live up to Smash Ultimate? And more importantly, how does it surpass it? Whereas with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, there is a part of me that says the most interesting, most compelling thing about this video game, removed from its impact to the console overall, is the sheer quantity of its content. And I don't know if any of the Mario Kart mechanics are more interesting than they have been in past iterations of the franchise, and I tend to think that a future iteration of Mario Kart will immediately make this one irrelevant. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is the ultimate collection of Mario Kart courses up to this point, and that alone justifies its presence. Now, I don't want to fight its presence on the list. I've already put it on the catch category. I believe that's where it should stay. But I just wanted to, you know, I think this is going to speak to some games that we've got to shoot down, what I'm saying right here, okay? But yeah, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, a great game that everybody loves.
Yeah, okay. I think it's just like a solid bet for the list. It does exactly what you expect it to do, and that's fine sometimes.
That is fine sometimes. Yes, it is the almost version of a thing you imagine in your head exactly as it should be. Nothing more or less.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Adam, we are at a point in this list where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We have 19 games. So in theory, after one more, we would start rearranging, but I don't think that's the case. I think that there's going to be a few more submissions, and then we will have to start deleting and rearranging. So I'm just going to throw out really quick Animal Crossing. Does it go on the list?
I think it does because of impact.
Okay, I agree.
For me, when it comes to Animal Crossing, I enjoy it for 20 or 30 hours. Mm-hmm. And I understand that there is, you know, a design philosophy behind it of taking your time and just, you know, almost finding the fun in the minutiae and all that. But eventually, after 30 hours for me, when I have to chop down the same tree and walk back, it's those little quality of life improvements that I think if Animal Crossing had them, I would be all over it and I'd play it for hours on end. But because it doesn't have them, it's just not for me. But I think it deserves to be on the list because of how impactful it was. Not only it sold a lot, but it came out at a time when everybody was locked indoors. And I remember, here's a story. March 20th, this game came out, which is my birthday. Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing New Horizons came out. My girlfriend or fiance loves Animal Crossing, and she got me into what is the one on 3DS, New Leaf?
Correct.
She got me into New Leaf, and I had a similar experience where I enjoyed it for 20 hours, put it down, and that was fine.
Yeah.
And then New Horizons came out. I got the Animal Crossing Switch. I got Doom Eternal, and I got Animal Crossing on the 20th of March. And the following Sunday, 2 days later, on the 22nd, the Prime Minister, or Taoiseach in Irish, of Ireland came out and announced that we are going into lockdown.
Right.
And it was that moment. It was that moment where we were celebrating my birthday. Yeah. We were all sitting in my kitchen playing Monopoly. And then the TV comes on and it's like, oh, the whole country's going into lockdown. And then all of a sudden, Animal Crossing became this thing where me and my girlfriend would go to each other's islands. Yeah. And we'd, you know, chop down some trees, we'd trade some stuff, and we'd be on the phone, and then that would be great. And I did the same with my cousin and a couple of friends, and I think because of the moment that it came out, I think it deserves to be on the list.
I agree. Cultural relevancy, time and place. This is why, like, when you like read an old book or like a Shakespeare play in school, they have you learn about what was going on in the time period, because that sort of thing is important to understanding a piece of art contextually. So I agree, time or place. I will say, just light criticism, I think sometimes Nintendo games go in this direction where they don't know how to iterate besides like turning you into God. And I kind of think Animal Crossing went in that direction, and it's just like you now have the powers of a god. And I think that it takes away, I think, a little bit from what those games are supposed to be or what those games could be. And if you ask me, I think I might say that the one on 3DS was maybe I preferred that game to the one on Switch. But I still think I think time and place. I think it definitely has a spot, at least on the drift portion of this list. But okay.
Oh, I think it's a catch.
You think it's a catch? All right. You think it's on the list?
Yeah, even I think it is a catch. Just because of the impact and the relevance of it.
Cool. Adam, you got another game?
I do.
Okay.
We're kind of getting into the others of the list.
Really? Okay, because I've got a couple left that I'm like, man, I'm surprised we haven't said this yet.
Yeah, well, I think I will talk about Shovel Knight.
No, immediate veto.
Jake.
It doesn't. Shovel Knight had so much relevance and importance when it came out, way before the Switch, and it meant something in the indie video game scene, and it doesn't have that anymore. It doesn't have that. By the time it came out on Switch, it was cool that it was on Switch. It had you could fight Kratos on the PlayStation version. That was really cool. And now I just think there have been so many indie games, especially these 2D platformer indie games after Shovel Knight. It does not have the same impact. If we're making a list of Switch games, you're telling me we haven't hit the highs of Shovel Knight since the Nintendo Switch has come out? Blasphemy!
Jake, Shovel Knight was, I'm not sure if it was a launch title or it was a near launch title.
It was near launch.
Yeah, which I think makes a big difference for my list, because it was at that time when you just got the Switch, and you had, say, Breath of the Wild, you had Snipper Clips, you had them sorts of games that you played. Snake Pass is a game we talked about as well, where you're almost searching for something to play. And then Shovel Knight, which I will go back to what I said earlier. It talks to the sensibilities of a Nintendo gamer, of that 8-bit, 16-bit era, 2D platformer. And not only does it speak to that, I think it improves the formula in almost every way. I think Shovel Knight is like an absolute triumph of a game, because it somehow captures what an 8-bit / or 16, well, it would be 8-bit, isn't it? It's like a modern version of 8-bit. It's like,
Adam, let me just cut you off at your legs. Let me get to the heart of it. Let me get to the heart of this.
Okay.
You tell me right now that Shovel Knight is better than Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Luigi's Mansion 3.
Well, that's not a platformer, but
okay, no, I know. I'm just throwing games out here. Okay. Pikmin 4.
Yes.
Dragon Quest 11S.
Well, I see. It's very difficult to say if a 2D platformer, but Jake,
I know. I'm just saying. I want to put it on the list.
Okay. 2D platformers on the Switch. What do you
2D platformers on the Switch. I would put Celeste over Shovel Knight.
I think they're different kinds of platformers.
I agree with you that they are. They definitely are.
And
I would
make the argument that Shovel Knight feels more at home on the Switch than Celeste does.
Oh, I disagree.
Because it feels like an NES platformer.
I think Celeste had its moment on Switch. I think the relevancy of Celeste is more tied to the Switch than Shovel Knight's relevancy.
I get that, but give me other 2D platformers on the Switch.
Rayman Legends.
Well, that one's on my list as well.
Okay, yeah. I think it's better than Shovel Knight. I'm not willing to put that Donkey Kong game everybody likes. I don't like it as much as everybody else.
I would agree. I think it's still great. If anything, I think Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair is better than Donkey Kong.
Dang,
Tropical
cool.
Freeze.
Cool.
The Impossible Lair is genuinely like a brilliant game.
Okay.
And it did not get the recognition that it deserved, because obviously it came out after Yooka-Laylee, after sort of the failure of Yooka-Laylee. But Impossible Lair is a fantastic game.
I know it's not really a 2D platformer in the same way at all, but I would also say Spelunky 2 over Shovel Knight easily, especially as like an indie game. I think it's
but then you're getting into roguelikes.
Yeah, I know.
I think they're different games. I just think if you're speaking to a Nintendo audience, what platformer would they prefer to play? Celeste?
Well, they probably want to play Mario Wonder.
Okay. Outside of what game captures that Nintendo-ness more than Shovel Knight? What 2D platformer?
Mario Maker 2.
Outside of a Mario game.
Outside of a Mario game. And then I guess again I'm going back to Rayman Legends. I will say up front, I am not the biggest 2D platformer guy in general.
Neither am I. I much prefer 3D platforms, but I think Shovel Knight is one of my favorites.
And and you're telling me it's in the top 20 Switch games. The definitive kingdom for a Shovel Knight.
It's in the top 20 indie games ever created.
I'll give it that. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
I
understand that there's a bit of wishy-washiness with its connection to the Switch. But I just think when I think of Shovel Knight, I think of Nintendo.
Wow. Okay.
Specifically, I think of the 3DS, but also the fact that was a game that I was playing around the launch of the Switch. I think that's why it sticks out in my head.
All right, Adam. I think the truth will emerge, but I will put it on. I'll put it on there. Now, I mentioned I kind of ran through a few there that I would like to get your second opinion on now.
2 hours later.
Here's where I'm thinking we're at. We've spent a long time whittling down our list here of 20 Nintendo Switch games, and we haven't even ordered them yet. So I'm thinking, Adam, your camera is dead. I'm thinking we order them in a part 2. Okay. Now we have to deal with the consequences of our actions. Watching this back, editing it, I think Adam may have pulled one over on me. I don't know. So once again, just a reminder that I'm putting some power in your hands. You can save us from some errors, from some mistakes on the list of 20 games that we ended up with. Please submit saves, submit deletes. Tell us where we went wrong. Tell us where we went right. Order the games and get Adam back in line, because this is. Sincerely, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me. Let me know in the comments below not only what you thought of our picks so far, and of course do the survey, but what do you think of these longer, big discussion-y type videos? Do you like having them every now and then? Let me know. But thanks again. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.